So now we're going to learn how to actually create a quiz. So I'm going to go to assessments and quizzes. So remember in the last video, I went to the question library and I actually made problems that I could use, practice quizzes or questions. If you haven't watched that video, I suggest you go back and use it because it will help. So now, again, I've got my questions in here, and if I click on it, I can see I have all these questions that I created. I created 5. So I'm going to go to assessments and quizzes. And so I'm going to do a new quiz. So one thing I can do is I'm going to say practice quiz for Z-test. It lets myself and the student know what we're doing. Right now, I don't have a category for this, but yes, I do. See, I have practice quizzes. Or you can add a category. You could add any category you want, and it'll go there. So I'm going to leave this blank for now. So I'm going to add and edit questions. So I click on this link. So remember from the last time I did this in the question library, you can also create questions here. You can put them in sections. So you could do a section 1, you could do like you could do a true false section. And you could hide the title from the students, or you could show the students what it is. So you could do true false questions so they know this whole section will be true false. And you can shuffle the questions in this section. And you can save it. Okay, so in my true false, I've got that on. I've got shuffling on. So another thing I want to do is I'm going to edit again. And I've got that going. And so remember, you can hide the title from the students so they can't see it or do that. And that's the good thing, is it shows you what's going on. So I'm going to save this now. If I click on here, so you saw that what I did, there's the down arrow, or if you click on it, it allows you to import questions. So say I'm going to browse my question library, and I have my practice questions there that I made before. And I remember I made a true false quiz. So I'm going to click on it. And that's the one I want to bring over. So then I don't think I want to bring anything else over because everything else is a different kind of problem. So let's see where it is. Let me make sure I do this right. Oh, and then I'm going to hit add. And it's thinking about it. Okay, let me try that again. It doesn't seem like it likes it. So I'm going to go import, go to my quiz library. And then it is. Oh, it did. So it came over. All right, so now I have that one there. All right, so then I can go back to, I've got true or false questions. I could make a new section. I could call this, you can do it by different sections. Like you could do multiple choice, you could do matching. You don't have to do that. Let's just say I'm not gonna put these next ones as a section, okay? So I'm gonna just cancel this. So then if I don't want to do this, one thing I can do, let me see if I can do that. So let me show you what this does. I'm gonna do done editing questions, and let me save it, and then let me preview it, okay? I'm gonna go up here and I'm gonna preview it. So it gives you the screen where you see the instructions. And then I do start quiz. So it tells me you're doing true false questions, and it gives me the question. And if I hit the answer and hit submit the question, it shows me what I got. I got a 4 out of 10, so I got it right. And it shows me my attempts. Okay, so it looks good. I wanted to make sure it looked good for the students. Okay, so I'm going to exit the preview. I would suggest, if you're going to do things, to group them, because it makes it easier for the students to understand. If you're going to do like short answer, do a section of short answer. If you're going to do multiple choice matching, do those questions together, because it will help the student. Oops, I don't want to do that. I want to do adding. Okay, so I'm going to add more questions to my test, okay? So say I didn't want to do sections because it's just a short quiz. So I'm going to do this and I'm going to delete it. The great thing is because those questions are in my question library, they're not deleted forever. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to go Browse Question Library. I'm going to click on this because I want all these questions and I'm going to add them. So all of my practice questions that I made in the previous video are there. And the good thing is now I've got them all in one place. So now I can say I'm done editing questions. I can go down and I can put my values are good. If I didn't like my values, I could edit my values. Say like you have a long multiple choice question, excuse me, a long essay question, you can give it a different value. So like if I change this to 8, if I hit save, then it changes the entire values of it. But I'm going to go back and I'm going to do that again. I'm going to edit it again because I want it to be a 20-point quiz. Okay. All right. Do 4 right there. All righty. So we can get really fancy with our quizzes. One thing you can do is you can make it, how many questions do you want per page? You could do 1 question per page. You could do 4. You could do 5. You can shuffle the quizzes at the quiz levels. So, and then another thing I do is if you want to give an introduction to the quiz of this practice quiz, will test your knowledge of Z-test. So it's just going to be there for them. They'll understand it and understand what I'm trying to get them to do. You can allow hints if you want and make hints for each question. You can disable right click, or you can, if you turn on this option, they can't get in their email, their instant messenger, or their alerts if they're in the quiz in progress. Okay. I'm not going to do that because this is a practice quiz. If this was a homework quiz or an exam, I would do these things so that they couldn't do it. Okay, then I'm going to hit save and close. Okay. Now I've built my quiz. There's this little eyeball with a line through it. That means my students can't see it yet, and that might be a good thing. So during this time, if you're building lots of quizzes and you don't want your students to see it, it hides it from them. But say, okay, I want to look and see the quiz and see what it looks like to my students. Click on this down arrow and go to preview. So it shows you everything, and it shows you this quiz will test your knowledge of Z-test. So then I'm going to start the quiz. And here I go. For each page, it'll give me something. So I know the answer is true. Next page. And the good thing is I answered that first question. I get this little check right here. So I'm going to answer this one too. And it shows that it was saved. And then you can see here, remember this was my fill in the blank. And I'm just going to put in an answer. Okay. Oops. Okay. It's hopefully when I go to the next page, it showed that it was saving because I got the check. And I'm going to put the Z, next page. And then I'm going to match these to see. So say that was 1, that was 4, that was 3, and that was 2. Okay. So then I've done that one. And again, it showed that I saved my answer. So I'm done. Okay. So I'm going to submit the quiz. And I'm allow it to be graded, and I submit the quiz. And I'm done. So I got an 80. I missed something. Well, did I really miss something? I didn't, because if I go back to my attempts, and it might not show it to you. Remember, I had one that I needed to grade. So one thing you want to do is, let's go look at my summary. If you have questions that, let me go to the next page, that are fill in the blank. Oops, what was it? Previous page, this one, where I describe it's not going to grade it for you because there's so many different ways for your students to answer these questions. So remember that if you make these kind of questions that you will have to go back and manually add them. Okay, so I made my quiz. Quick things that I can do in my quiz. If I want to make it visible, I go here and make it visible. If you make it visible and you don't password protect it, students can go through it and look at it. So let's edit these settings so they can't do that. Say I want to make it there. So I've got everything I need. I've got my questions. I've set that up. Now I want to do restrictions. So it has a start date. It has a due date. You can put, okay, that it has a due date. So let's say it has a due date, an end date that it closes. I'm going to do this. It's a week from today. I'm going to display it in the calendar. I'll come back to, I'm going to do a different video and respond to Lockdown Browser. You could make a password if you want to give them, say they have to go to one of the online classes or something, and you'll give the password out in class. You can put it here. I'm just going to say blah. So now it's password protected. You can give a recommended time. 120 minutes is the default, and you can do it where it'll enforce the time. Sometimes it'll do 120 minutes. You give a 5-minute grace period where you can allow the students to continue working. You can prevent the student from making any changes, and you can allow the student to continue working but automatically score what they do as a 0 after it. I wouldn't recommend that. You might want to do like you give them a 1-minute grace period. So, okay. That's one thing. So I'm going to save those settings right fast as we keep going through what's going on. I saved it. All right. So say you have students who for some reason have to take it later. What you can do is in this screen where I said allow special access to the quizzes, say that I have a student who needs to take it on the 28th. It has to have more time for the 28th. So override attempts allowed. I'm using the same things, but say I'll do this student. So then I'm going to add special access. So what does that do for me? It allows me to see that my student has special access. Okay. Assessment. If you tie it to an item in the gradebook, this is where you need to do this. So I would have it in here, and you can always do that if you want to. You can allow the attempt to be graded immediately. But remember, if you have a question you have to grade immediately, students will panic because they'll see say you had half the test you have to grade and they get a 50. They're going to be alarmed. So if you're going to have a test like that, I wouldn't automatically grade it. If you have one that's all multiple choice, short answer, fill in the blank or something like that, or true, false, then do that. Okay. So if I need to add a grade item to do this, so if you click on here, and I'm going to do practice test, and I'm going to do a category. I'm going to do it under practice problems. And I'm going to do this. Remember, this was 20 points. And I'm not going to do exceed, and I'm not going to do it as a bonus. And I'm just going to hit, oops, save. Okay, so now it has a graded item. That used to not be there, but it's wonderful. Okay, and I'm going to click here, allow the grades to export, and I'm going to do that. So that means whenever a student takes it, it's going to grade it, and it's going to put it in my grade book. If you want to do more than one attempt, say you want to do 3 attempts, but you only want the highest, you can do that. You can do the lowest attempt. You can do the average, the first, the last, whichever you want to do. Okay, so there's that. Objectives, you don't have to worry about. This is the only thing that I use more than that is submission views. So the default view is that it shows them how they do after it, but it doesn't show them any of the questions. So you can change the default view to be like, say that I want my students to see the questions, but I don't want to show the question answers, but I also want to show them what their question score and out of score. Why am I doing that? They're going to get to see the questions. They're going to get to see what they put, but it's not going to give them the answer, but it will tell them if it was right or wrong. If you don't want to do that, then just make the default no. But again, if you want to show the questions, but not the answers, but the students can see the ones they missed, that's what you do. And if you wanted to, You don't have to show this immediately. Usually what I do is I set it to no. I don't want them to see anything, and I save it. When the testing period is done and everybody's taken it, then I'll go back in and I'll show the questions, but I might not show the answers, but then the students at least see what they missed. All right, so I have set everything up I need to do. I hit save and close. Go back here and let's see. Now I've got my practice quiz. This shows me that I have given, let's see. So this shows me, if I go over, it's password protected. I have a grade item in there and it's going to the grade book. And this shows I've given somebody special access. So I've made my first quiz. And now let's go here and I'm going to show it to you. Oops. Let's look at it as a student. So if the student goes to assessment and quizzes, they're going to see that there. And they're going to see when they click on it, oh, I can't, can I get into it? You haven't attempted it, but let's see if it'll let me go back. I'm going to click on it. And I think, oh, I'm going to take it. And then no, I can't take it because I don't have the password. But if I did have the password and I put it in there, oops, it should let me take it. Okay, it won't let me on this because I'm not really a student. That is how you make up a quiz. Thanks.